Welcome to Mi Keamcha Yisrael. The Torah opens this parasha with a quiet, almost intimate expression. Vayikra el Moshe, Borei Olam calls to Moshe, but when Moshe turns to Aaron and invites him forward, the language shifts. Karav el HaMizbeach, come closer, and Chazal reveals something remarkable. Aaron hesitated. He didn't step forward with confidence. He didn't rush forward with greatness. He held back. The question is why? Because he remembered. He remembered his past. He remembered his involvement in the Chet HaEgal. And standing there at the entrance of the Mishkan, he felt something deeply human. I'm not worthy, he said. Moshe turns to him and says words that echo through generations. Lekach nivcharta. This is exactly why you were chosen, not despite your hesitation, but because of it. Because the one who feels nothing can do anything, but the one who feels the weight of his own shortcomings, that is a person who walks with care, with responsibility, with emet. The Arizal, the holy Arizal and the Baal Shem Tov take it one step further. Aharon was not chosen in spite of his humility. He was chosen because of it. The quiet voice inside a person that says, I'm not ready and I'm not enough, is not always pushing him away from his mission. Sometimes it's preparing him for it, because the people who feel unworthy are often the ones who heaven trusts most. But there is another struggle. Not the hesitation before greatness, but the collapse after failure. Not the voice that says, I'm not worthy, but the far more dangerous whisper that says, it's over. And to understand that, there is a story that happened during the times of Napoleon's war against Russia. Napoleon's army was vast, it was disciplined, it was relentless, and his generals were brilliant. His strategy was precise, calculated, and overwhelming. But deep within the Russian command post, their top general sat waiting for the news from the front. The first messenger arrived. A letter was handed over. He opened it, he read it, and his face fell. The lines of defense had been shattered. The enemy had broken through. Then came a second, more devastating news. An entire unit had been captured. Then a third, a fourth, and even a fifth. Letter after letter, blow after blow, each one heavier than the last. The room filled with silence and despair, and the general sat at his desk, his head in his hands, surrounded by defeat. And then his wife, she entered the room. Remarkable. She looked at him, she looked at the letters, and she understood. What happened, she asked. He didn't answer. He simply handed her the stack. She read the letter slowly, one by one, her eyes filled with pain. But her face remained steady. And when she finished, she looked up at him and said, "That's it?" He stared at her. "Isn't that enough?" he asked. "We're losing everything." She shook her head and she says, "There is one message worse than all the rest. The one letter you have not yet received." And he looked at her confused, bewildered. "Worse than this?" She nodded. "The worst message would be this," and I quote, "The spirit of the army has fallen. The men have given up." The general froze, and in that moment he understood. As long as his soldiers still believed, as long as there was even a flicker of resolve, as long as their spirit remained alive, the war wasn't over. He stood up, he called in his officers, and he began again. Slowly, carefully, the tide began to shift, and against all odds, everything they won. Why? Because their spirit never, ever fell. Ladies and gentlemen, Aharon stood at the entrance and he couldn't move. Not because he lacked greatness, but because he felt unworthy to carry it. And Moshe said to him, "Lekach nivcharta." This is exactly why you were chosen. Because the one who feels nothing can destroy without hesitation. But the one who trembles is the one that heaven trusts. And then life begins to write its letters. Moments we regret, choices we would take back, distances we never imagined that we would reach. And a person reads them one by one until a thought begins to form. Maybe this is who I've become. Maybe that's not the danger. The danger is when a person writes the last line himself. The spirit has fallen, because the moment a person accepts that, he doesn't just fall. It's worse, because he stops rising. And as long as a person can still rise, even slowly, even quietly, and even painfully, nothing is over. Because Borei Olam doesn't choose the perfect. He chooses the one who still feels, the one who still wants, the one who still refuses to close the door. So if you're standing there hesitating and perhaps feeling unworthy, do not mistake that feeling. It's not rejection. That is the call. And really the question now is whether or not you're worthy to step forward. The question is, will you answer? Shabbat Shalom and Mevorach.